Hi trauma healers, Lev here. In today's video what we're going to talk about is boundaries and standards. Now you might be wondering to yourself, well, there's a channel about trauma healing and release. What do boundaries and standards have anything to do with trauma healing and release? Well, actually they have a lot to do with that because if somebody's constantly violating your boundaries, if you don't have any standards for yourself, what happens is you're going to get re-traumatized over and over and over again. And so we want to break that pattern for you. So let's get into it. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion about what a boundary is, what a standard is. So let me give you some examples. That's the easiest way to comprehend. So boundaries are basically self-care. They're red lines that you create in your life that you will not allow people to cross. Standards, on the other hand, are kind of like baseline levels for what you expect in your life. So let's give some examples of both. What's a boundary? One boundary that you can have, say in personal relationships, is I do not tolerate being yelled and screamed at. And boundaries are self-care. It's not about the other person. If they don't like your boundary, that's their problem. You're not responsible for other people's feelings if you're not doing anything to hurt them, if you just have a boundary for self-care. What's another boundary? Another boundary is don't call me at 4 o'clock in the morning, drunk, asking to come over and play, so to speak. I need my sleep. I have to be up for work, or even if not, I value my sleep. I don't want 4 a.m. calls. That's a boundary that you have. So, the way you can set it is, unless it's a major emergency, obviously there has to be reasonable exceptions, but apart from that, please don't call me past midnight or past 1 a.m. because I do value my sleep. What's another boundary? Another boundary could be my time is valuable. If we make set plans and there's a commitment to meet somewhere, again, unless it's a major emergency, I expect you to have integrity and honor your commitment to me, because I have a busy schedule, you have a busy schedule. We're both taking times out of our schedule to meet, whether it be for lunch or dinner or some other social engagement, or for a drink or for some coffee. And when I make plans with you, that means that I am not making plans with somebody else, or I'm not doing something that I would otherwise be doing or plan to do. So, in my view, especially in modern society, people become very flaky and very disrespectful of each other's time. And so set that boundary for yourself. Hey, if I make plans with you, you can't be doing last minute cancellations because all of a sudden something better came along to do. That's not a legitimate reason to break a plan. Like, there's a family emergency, or there's an accident, or some type of work emergency. Those are more legitimate reasons. But just, I don't feel like it anymore, or I found better plans, those aren't legitimate reasons. And that's violating somebody's boundaries and disrespecting their time. So you can set that boundary for yourself. And when you set boundaries for yourself, you're basically telling other people how you want to be treated. And if they want to be in your life, they can decide, okay, this works for me, or no, it doesn't. Like, we're all free agents here, have personal agency, so to speak. Nobody controls anybody else. We all have freedom here. We all have free will. So someone can decide if the boundaries that you set are acceptable to them or not. Some people, are just super flaky, so that boundary won't work for them. That means you shouldn't be in each other's lives. That's okay. We don't have to get along with everybody. and we don't have to have the same values as everybody. But if somebody is in your life, you do have to have some of those same values and views. Let's talk about standards. What are some standards? Here's a standard. I'm not going to date somebody who's unemployed. You need to have a job. What's another standard that you have? Again, going back to relationships. I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't have at least some type of commitment to personal growth, who doesn't have a commitment to do the work. Because look, all of us to varying degrees have work to do on ourselves, and nobody's perfect. What else? What's another standard? I will only date somebody who is open-minded and is open to learning and growth. I'll only date someone who is responsible about their health and fitness, who cares about nutrition, who cares about working out, so they take care of themselves, so their body doesn't break down, so their mind doesn't deteriorate. That's okay to have that standard. Some people don't have those standards. That's okay. They can live their life however they want to live it. But you're entitled to have your own standards. And I can tell you right now, if you let people violate your boundaries, or if you deviate from your standards, maybe nobody else knows, but you know. And it affects your self-esteem, it affects your self-worth. And like I said, especially like let's talk about the flaking issue. If you had abandonment issues from your childhood for whatever reasons, if somebody's flaking on you, look, they're not meaning to trigger those abandonment issues, but it does trigger those abandonment issues. So if you continue to date somebody who keeps triggering your abandonment, then you're being re-traumatized over and over again. Let's say you grew up in a chaotic environment where there was a lot of fighting and arguing by your parents, where one or both of your parents were yelling at you and being nasty to you. So if you allow somebody to yell at you, not only do you have the discomfort and upset of them yelling at you at the moment, it's also triggering your childhood trauma. Why would you do that to yourself? One of the big keys to healing is to have toxic people out of your life. We all have choices. You don't have to place yourself in a relationship or an environment that's unhealthy. And the same goes for work. You don't have to work in a place where the boss is constantly screaming and yelling and just being a nightmare and being a micromanager. You can decide that violates your boundaries and standards. You can decide, hey, I will only work somewhere where people treat each other with respect, where there's no yelling and screaming, where the boss is fair, and also, frankly, as far as standards, where they pay fair, where they're not providing a product or service that is destructive. What's some examples? They don't sell cigarettes, they're not polluting the environment, they're not putting a product out there that's just scamming people out of their money. You can have those standards for yourself. So as you can see, boundaries and standards apply to every area of your life. So not only will boundaries and standards keep you from being re-traumatized, you'll also be happier because you won't have so much negativity, negative stimuli, so to speak, that, like I said, stresses you out, makes you feel anxious, can even make you feel depressed. So a couple of resources for you. There are two books that you should check out. One is called Not Nice by Dr. Aziz Gazipura, and the other is called Doing the Work by Nicole LaPera. She also has an amazing Instagram page called the.holistic.psychologist, and that's on Instagram. So check both of those resources out. Until next time, have boundaries, have standards. It's your life. You need to have that self-love for you. And to give you some guidance on that, by the way, if you're not sure what boundaries or standards you want to have in your life, take a sheet of paper out, write boundaries on there, and just brainstorm and do the same for standards. And then pick out, I'd say, the top 10 and be firm with those. This is extremely important self-care and self-love. And so I want you all to have that, and I love you all. Until next time.